Hi, I'm here with Sarah Theaker, who is a social and community engagement lead at TMW Unlimited. And I'll be asking her a few questions about her job role in the marketing industry. So Sarah, thank you for doing this. The first question I want to ask you is, how have you got to where you are today?
Um, so I was having to think about this yesterday, and I was actually really fortunate in kind of where I am now. Um, Mainly because when I was originally kind of trying to break into the marketing industry, I had this real thing about like I wanted to be in TV advertising, and I'd gone to university, I'd done a degree around advertising and marketing, but I didn't actually understand much about the industry as a whole, like how to get into it, like what jobs are available. And I loved social at the time, but I just didn't even think that there was like a career opportunity within that kind of side of things. So I just essentially wanted a foot in the door. So I'd done an internship when I was 17 at Tangerine Communications. So I got back in touch with them when I finished my degree to see if they had any positions available. I remember I'd like really enjoyed working there when I was younger. So I thought it'd be nice to get back in, get some experience within the industry and just, yeah, like learn a bit more outside of my degree about what the industry has to offer. And I remember really clearly like prepping so much for this interview. They had a B2B account exec position available. And I was trying to learn as much as I could about B2B because, again, it was something that hadn't really been touched upon much within my degree. So I was trying to have to teach myself a little bit before I went to the interview. And yeah, I went to the interview and I was really excited. And I sat down and I think I was probably maybe a bit too excited. And I talked about social quite a lot. And I remember at the end of the interview, the lady who interviewed me pulled me to one side and was like, "We really like you, but you're not B2B." And I remember thinking, "Oh no, I've really messed up this interview. Like this is my shot." And she said to me, "You're not B2B, but there is a position available for a B2C social content exec."
Mhm.
So she put me forward for that one and I got the position. And then, yeah, my career kind of started from there. So, where I'd kind of not really even thought of social as being an opportunity that I could look into, I was quite fortunate that in my interview, I must have kind of showed some type of personality that better suited the position they had. And from there, I kind of kickstarted my career in social. And again, I was really fortunate that from the start, Tangerine gave me some really huge opportunities, and I worked on some really big brands. So, kind of from the off, I was on brands like Ice and Foods and Pizza Hut, and then Danone and brands like that. So, yeah, I feel like I was very fortunate in that I had someone who spotted something in me and helped guide me in my first role.
Okay, that's very nice. So would you say like you weren't anticipating picking the marketing industry, or would you say there was something specific that actually made you pick it?
I always knew that I wanted to go into the marketing industry. I think from like a really young age, I
Yeah.
knew I wanted to go into marketing, essentially because I wanted a role that was creative. And at the time, I thought TV advertising, like that is where I want to go. And I just remember watching things like the John Lewis advert. I know it's like a little bit cliche now, but I remember watching the John Lewis advert and thinking like that's what I want to do. I want to go into TV advertising. Um, and then yeah, I just feel very fortunate that I kind of was given the opportunity that I was to work within social, because I can't imagine being any other type of position in the
Yeah.
industry at the moment. And I feel very fortunate.
Okay, that's nice. So you said the interviewer said that she may have spotted something that thought you'd fitted the role as someone who works in social and engagement league. Would maybe it could have been your persona? Would you say that there's anything specific that motivates you in coming to work every day?
Yes. So I guess one of the main things and one of the things that I like most about working within social is obviously I enjoy working on the bigger project pieces that we do. So when it's a social strategy, and it could be that a brand has a problem that they need fixing, and I enjoy that side of things. But one of my favorite things about working within social is like the reactive side of things. So it's waking up in the morning and going on my Twitter feed and seeing that, something's happened and it's causing like a bit of a cultural moment, or it could be, an update within one of the industries that my brands are working within. And I like that side of things where it's waking up in the morning and thinking, okay, how does what's happened in the news today impacts the brands that I work on. How can we demonstrate our brand positioning, our tone of voice, our personality? And I enjoy, kind of waking up in the morning and not knowing what's going to happen, alongside having those bigger pieces of work as well. I think it just helps to keep things really interesting.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so would you say that you have higher career aspirations, or would you say that this is probably something where you're comfortable at?
Definitely have high career aspirations. The position that I'm in now, I within the first 6 weeks was kind of offered the opportunity to expand my role, and I think it was one of the quickest promotions I've ever had. And yeah, that's the kind of thing that I enjoy, where you're in one role, one moment, and then an opportunity presents itself, and I'm all for kind of grabbing those opportunities and seeing where they'll take me. And I almost think with a career in social, because the kind of digital industry is just expanding so quickly at the moment, and there's jobs kind of popping up that you would never have thought about 2 years ago. Like, I was looking at a job the other day, not for myself, but just in general, for community management within the metaverse. And that's something that like a few years ago was just not heard of. And I just think it's such an exciting industry to be a part of, where we can't really predict where our careers are going to go, but we just know that there is expansion there. So I find that really fun. But yeah, definitely aspirational in terms of my career, and when an opportunity presents itself, I like to jump on it.
Okay, nice. So would you say that you feel like you're making a change in your role?
I was thinking about this one as well yesterday, and I feel like this is such a nice question, because it took me a moment and I had a bit of time to kind of reflect and think, am I making a difference in the role that I'm in? But I think one of the best things about my current position is the agency that I work within, and TMW are just such a great industry, a great agency for promoting things like diversity, inclusivity, equality. And I think that then translates into kind of the meetings that we go into, the client work that we have. So I know particularly around social, there's kind of a stigma around the effects that it has on younger generations and mental health. And I think it's really important that we kind of go into the meetings and the client work that we have with this as a consideration, and not only tackling it, but thinking how can we, help, kind of tear down some of these issues that we have in social at the moment. And I think it kind of starts with those meetings, and it takes people going into them and having those issues in front of mind. So I think, without really realizing the impact that we probably have quite a big impact, because we're able to kind of be at the forefront of changing these things that might have a negative impact on younger generations. So I'd like to think that we have quite a positive impact.
Yeah, that was a lovely answer. I definitely agree with that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So would you say your role is as you expected it to be when you first started, or was something a little bit different?
My current role is definitely different. I started as a social media manager, and I'm now social and community engagement lead. So essentially kind of merged together two separate teams. So the social team that I work probably 50 to 60% of the time on, and then also the community management team. For me, I feel like those two teams have always been super hand in hand. I think you can't have one without the other. And it's all about, what I'm trying to bring to my role is all about marrying the two up. So not just seeing community management as customer service, but seeing it as an element to amplify the social work that we're doing for clients, and creating this full circle approach when it comes to social and strategy, and making sure that we're using kind of the community management element to bring to life the social strategies that we're creating.
Okay.
So it's definitely not where I thought I was going to be, because like I said, 6 weeks in, I kind of was offered the opportunity to expand my role. So very grateful for that. But I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, cool. So I understand there's a lot of stuff that you have to incorporate in your role. But what would you say is the biggest challenge that you had to overcome in your time at I think Tangerine?
With Tangerine, or in my career in general?
Career in general. So TMW as well.
What do I think is the biggest challenge that I've had to face? Probably the biggest challenges within our industry is probably the element that I like most. So as I mentioned before, you can kind of wake up in the morning and something's happened overnight, and you go onto Twitter and it's just everywhere, and that can be great, and it can provide a massive opportunity to react as a brand and, like I said, showcase personality. But it can also, on the flip side, be a negative. So it could be that there's a brand that you work on and you wake up in the morning and a piece of news is broken about the brand or about the industry that the brand works within, and all of a sudden you're then in crisis comms management. And with social, that is obviously a massive part of it, and people now expect responses instantly. I think before they kind of expected, to pick up the phone and speak to someone about an issue, whereas now most people turn to social media and they want to hold brands accountable and they want to have answers instantly. So I guess that's one of the biggest challenges, is making sure that you have a level head, making sure that you kind of take everything into consideration, because I think everyone has that moment where they think, oh, I need to jump online now and respond to this immediately. And I remember working with an old colleague a few years ago, and I feel like she kind of really taught me how to handle situations like that, how to approach crisis management. And one of the best pieces of advice that she gave me was to just take a moment, take a deep breath, take a step back from your laptop, even though you just have the urge to just jump online straight away and kind of try and diffuse the situation. The best piece of advice that I've had is to just take a moment and kind of zoom out of the situation and have a bit more of a holistic view of it rather than start responding straight away.
Okay.
But I think that's one of the biggest challenges in social at the moment.
Okay, very nice. So your advice was to take a step back because of how hands-on the actual job is. What would you say is like, so this is one of my favorite questions, everyone's answer is different. What would you say is like your advice you'd give to someone who's trying to enter the same role which you've entered yourself?
I think so. I obviously went down the route of going to university and getting a degree. And I think when I did that at the time, I actually had a conversation with my friend about it recently. When we were at school, it was almost a given that it was like that was the career path that you went down. You went to university and you have to pick instantly like what industry you want to go into, what you think your career is going to be. And it's a lot to put on the shoulders of like 18-year-olds. So I think my piece of advice would be to test out different industries. It might be, that you want to go into marketing, but social is something that's appealing to you at the moment. And then when you get into it, it might not be the right career choice. So I would say internships, getting as much experience as possible, trying different elements of the industry. And then I guess really showcasing your personality on your social channels. So if it's that you're going for a social media position, then making sure that you have your own brand identity across your social platforms that are visible. I think having like a Twitter feed, you can have a personal one and a private one. I'm not saying you have to have everything super public, but I think it almost gives you a bit of a virtual CV where people can go onto your Twitter, see how you're responding to real-time events and reactive opportunities. And I think it's really nice to kind of demonstrate your creativity and a passion for that industry before you actually go into it. But I would definitely recommend getting as much experience as possible and just making sure that it's the right fit for you before you kind of venture down any career path.
Okay, very nice. Okay, thank you so much. That was the last question, Sarah. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed
hearing
about your role. So we'll leave it there for today and hopefully I'll see you soon, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.